Welcome to Gifted Underachievers, the podcast for mid-level creatives with delusional ambitions. In this segment, James and I talk about the smaller creative projects that we both like to do on the side and how we can make them easier to promote.
Pat,
Yes.
tell me about your pleasure journey.
My pleasure journal?
Oh, wait, journal?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a lot less interesting than your pleasure journey. That I
Hey,
thought you were selling
for
that.
God's sake. All right, I'll tell you. There's this, a couple of years ago, I was feeling like, I think it came from when I was writing in my own notebook, which is just a blank notebook. It's not a guided journal. I was thinking, I tend to write down what's going wrong rather than what's gone right. And so then I had this brainwave. I was signed up to do NaNoWriMo, but I'm always like, fuck you, NaNoWriMo. I'm not gonna write anything. I sign up and then I just go, I don't feel like it. I'm not gonna do 1,600 words a day. Screw you. Sticking it to the man, except nobody cares if I do it or not.
Remo band.
But I felt like, okay, this is something I can do in less than a month because I kind of screwed the pooch for 4 days at the beginning of NaNoWriMo and then went, I signed up, I should really do something. And then I decided, oh my God, I can attack my own problem with journaling, which I don't do on the regular either, and make a guided journal that just is about what goes right, like the fun, the pleasure. So I called it a pleasure journal. And that was my first one was in 2023. I had so much fun making this thing. I did it on Canva and I used a couple templates, plus I created a bunch of stuff. And then I did it again in 2024 and I made it better. But I had a problem with promoting it in 2024. I sold way more in 2023 than I did in 2024, even though I really believe in it in some ways as a good thing. And I think it could be promotable. I just didn't promote it in 2024 because I had reservations about the quality because I used Amazon print on demand and it is not journal quality printing. I like journals with the little ribbon, nice paper. And even if it's a soft cover, it's got like more than just a cardboard soft cover.
It looks like it doesn't look bad, but it doesn't look like, a moleskin, something that's
Exactly. I wanted moleskin quality, maybe not quite moleskin. Anyway, so that's the story about my pleasure journal. And yes, my mom did think it had sexual overtones. And yes, of course, if you take pleasure in sex, then you could write about sex in here if you wanted to. But it's got calendars. It's a guided journal that goes through the year, month by month, week by week, and you can you just write down what you enjoyed, what you liked about what you liked, then do a doodle. I have space for a doodle every week and space for random thoughts. And then every few weeks I have a 10-minute free write. And then also once a month I have space to draw a map of what your pleasures were that month, like where they were in your terrain.
Yeah. So, this is strong content, strong idea. I think it's great, right? It's really good. It's something that people can enjoy and sort of easy for you to put together. Not that it's not no work, but you ran into this where you didn't feel comfortable marketing it, right?
Yeah.
And what was that discomfort? Other than that, the paper quality was low and it didn't look like a moleskin, that kind of thing. Were you worried about what it said about you?
No, I was comfortable with the content. It was 100% reservations about the quality of Amazon's print on demand. It's fine if the content is not a guided journal, but I just feel like it didn't measure up to the guided journals. And I'm not a guided journal person. Like I quit them partway through. I don't know why. So I don't really buy them, but I bought a few just to see what the hallmarks were of such a project because I've never done one. And I just thought they paid a lot of attention to quality, and mine, although the content itself is high quality, I believe there's no ribbon. I want a ribbon, and you can't do that with Amazon print on demand. There's no there's no journal kind of quality there. So I just felt like somebody buys this, one of my friends buys this to give as a gift, they might be disappointed. It doesn't have that, ooh, I can't wait to write in this feeling.
Yeah. Well, and if they're disappointed in the quality, again, not of the content, but the paper and binding and, and that
Yeah.
and ribbon, then that doesn't feel good for you. And it speaks to you, anything that you put out that has your name on it, you want people to go, yeah, this is really good.
Yeah, no matter how random or sort of side project it has, a vibe, like, because it's absolutely just for fun. Like I did it because it was fun. And I did the second one where I added quotes and the maps and stuff because it was fun. And then the
Mhm.
third one, I'm under no obligation to do it. Nobody cares if I do it except me, but I want to do it because I still think it's fun. Like I enjoy it. But the part I need to change is my reservations
Right.
about quality.
Yeah. And so that made it hard for you to market it. You put all this work into it and then you didn't really kind of finish the job, which is that doing that marketing piece.
Yeah, I did what I had to do, but like in order to sell something on Amazon, you have to put a product description, you have to set the prices, say which countries it's for sale in, all that stuff. So I did, that's not really marketing. I guess that's more like production. And I mentioned it, I think, once on social
Mhm.
media because I just didn't feel like, I didn't feel like it was quite right, actually. Just sheer, and I'd gotten you can buy test copies from Amazon and they'll ship them, and I just didn't feel like it was up to what I wanted. And the other part was I couldn't get it in hardcover from Amazon. They were only doing hardcover in the US. There was no Canadian like production facility doing hardcover books. So although they let me lay it out for hardcover, and I had a friend in Ireland who bought it in hardcover, I couldn't buy it in hardcover in Canada without paying massive shipping costs. So I never saw the hardcover version.
Mm, wow.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and so this reminds me, and we were talking before we did this segment, and so I had a similar book. It's not a journal, but it's taking blog posts that I had done on my website blog that is really just about trying to give what I feel like is my best advice around writing, right?
Yeah.
Not only the how-tos of writing, like how do I think about dialogue and those kinds of things, but things to watch out for, and then also thinking about it from the perspective of being a ghostwriter and that kind of thing. And so I
Hmm.
spent time pulling those off my blog and trying to revise them a bit and structure it into a book. And I got it into Kindle again on Amazon and did a little marketing around it. But just like you, I never felt comfortable doing the marketing because I didn't feel like I had nailed the quality piece.
Interesting.
I think I have good advice to offer people, but I didn't feel like I had spent enough time and that my own sort of perfectionism around writing, like I hadn't done enough. And so I
Hmm.
didn't feel good about marketing it. And after a relatively short amount of time, I pulled it down. And
Yeah.
it's just been kind of sitting there getting metaphorical internet dust doing right.
Yeah. Well,
And
yeah. Sorry, go on.
no, and it's similar that I just, I did not have the confidence in something that I had done to be able to really put it out there and feel good about it, but also sort of feel like it's okay if there's a mistake here and there. It's okay if it's not to the expectations of uh, the highest of the highest end of writing,
Hmm.
expertise. Really just a very casual, here's some things that I've picked up. I think they'll help you. I'm going to sell it for like $5 or what have you.
Hmm.
And off you go. And I didn't feel good about it. And I think there's something about that is common for a lot of creatives.
Yeah, I would say.
If you're an artist, photographer, what have you, you're trying to figure out, I've created this material, I've gathered this knowledge, and how can I repurpose this
Yeah.
in ways that are going to, make a little income, maybe help some other people and that kind of thing. And
Hmm.
so we talked about that and like calling it promotion jitters.
Yeah, yeah. and it's related to the idea that, as you were saying earlier, there's the art you want to get to the public. So the big painting, the photographs, the novel, like the stuff that you're very confident about. And then there's these smaller creative acts that for me, like the journal was just fun. I didn't want to write a novel in a month. I wanted to do something a little more visual, so that for me was the impetus. And I think a lot of creative people or people whose work is in, writing or, as you say, visual arts, photography, they can do little smaller projects and get them to the marketplace to allow them the time, and the money to work on their bigger stuff. But if you don't feel good about the little project, then you do I would say, get promotion jitters. I mean, there are some people don't really feel comfortable promoting any of their work, regardless of how long they spent on it. But I'm pretty comfortable promoting the work that I feel confident about. Weirdly, I'm pretty comfortable promoting this podcast, even though we have no clue what we're doing.
Yeah, oddly, I have a ton of fun promoting this podcast,
I wonder if it's because it's a collaboration.
Yeah, yeah. I think that partly it's a collaboration, but I also feel really good about it because it's a lot of fun, right?
Yeah,
And so
yeah,
I'm having a lot of fun, then hopefully that translates,
yeah, maybe, yeah. So I guess the thing about your book, because I've read your book, the one that you pulled off Amazon, and I thought it was, I thought it was great. It inspired me. It got me excited about writing again, and it gave me food for thought, especially that part of the concept theory of the mind. Found it very interesting, and it's short, not simplistic, but it's relatively simple. And I think there is a place for readers for simple books. People sometimes need a simple book. Like if you think of Stephen Pressfield, The War of Art, that's a simple book.
Mhm.
Because sometimes simplicity is exactly what readers want. And so the book's fine. There's nothing wrong with the book. So what are you thinking you'll do?
Well, I want to call out the phrase that you mentioned, smaller creative acts.
Yeah.
And I think everybody who's a creative has these sort of smaller creative acts, right? These
Yeah.
little things that they're not exactly sure what to do with. And so part of this conversation is we're trying to figure out, okay, so we have these things that we've put together. We don't feel entirely great about them.
Mhm.
But we want to do something with them because we feel like there is some value, but we also feel like there's maybe an opportunity to authentically help somebody, but also, bring in some income along the way, right?
Mhm.
And we had talked about we don't like the term side hustle because it just feels cringy.
Mhm.
And we don't like passive income because there's nothing passive about what we're doing. It requires effort and thought and putting work into it. And
Mhm.
so we have this phrase, smaller creative acts.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like
Yeah.
that.
So it's not the big novel that you or I may be working on or the big art installation or the portfolio or what have you. It's these smaller little things that can have value for other people, that can have value for us that we want to share. And
Mhm.
so what I'm thinking is, what do I need to do to take this thing that I'm not entirely proud of and get it to where I think this is something, yes, I'm going to feel really good about, and I'm going to feel as good about marketing that and talking about it to other people as I do the podcast Gifted Underachievers,
Yeah.
right? And I think it's the same for you with the pleasure journal is
Yeah.
how do you get that to where you feel really, really good about it so you're as excited to market it as you possibly can be?
Yeah. I think that's the crux of the thing for these two little things we have going on, products that, if you will, and they're both books. And I think that, I take pleasure in creating the pleasure journal, but I would like to take pleasure in opening the box when I order it and in turning the pages and going, yeah, this is not a shitty sort of print on demand, that I'm iffy about sending, like giving as a gift. I'd be iffy because it's like the first one I was not iffy at all. I guess because it was new and I was like, oh, I forgot what it felt like to hold a book in my hands that I made. But the second one, I was like, okay, this time I'm not happy with it. Yeah, so even just talking with you about it, understanding why I didn't market it, because really it's all about action. Did I take any action? No, I didn't. I put it on Amazon and then I let it sit there. I told maybe 3 people. I put one post on social media. So I sold 8 or 10 copies. And then it's one of those things that starts in January. So if it doesn't sell by mid-January, it's not going to sell. And I just left it there. I didn't think twice about it really. But
Mhm.
now it's getting to the time of year where if I'm going to do it again, I have to start pretty soon. And I think this is just figuring out why I didn't market it is the big insight that I'm having, because it means I got to change what I'm doing. Otherwise, I might just have gone ahead and done another one and not marketed it, and then gone, okay, I'm not going to do these anymore because they're not selling. But it's not really about that. It's I have fun doing them, and
Yeah.
I want to have fun selling them too.
Yeah. Yeah. So listen to your angst, right?
Yeah, listen to yourself. Yeah, for
So
sure.
I think we both felt angst around these two separate projects. We wouldn't be authentic and genuine marketing it because we weren't excited about it,
Yeah,
right?
because yeah, if somebody sent me that, it's okay. Like you could use it for what it's intended. But anyway, I don't want to go on about why I'm angsty about it. I feel like I
Well,
am going on.
yeah, but I think well, I think that's what we're learning is that your angst is trying to tell you something. And so
Mhm.
don't just have the attitude of I've got to get this product out, I'm going to bolt through it. And I don't, it just is what it is, so off it goes.
Yeah,
Right.
take a step back. Actually, yeah, you're right. Listen to your whatever your angst is. I feel like angst is kind of a big word for discomfort.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you said you put out one social media post
Yeah,
about
really. Yeah.
it, and already for gifted underachievers, I've like set a record.
Yeah.
My presence on social media.
Yeah.
And so I want to feel that same way about it. And so I think there's a way to sort of say, wait a minute, maybe there is something about this that's really good, and I need to figure out what's not good about it.
Hmm.
Hopefully that's an easy fix.
I think so. Well, but what was your idea that you
Well, my first idea is I think we have yet another experiment
Yeah.
in the offing.
That's a good one. Yeah.
So, and I think for both of us is to say, all right, well, we've heard our angst, but we also feel like there's something there.
Hmm.
And we need to get better at these smaller creative acts
Hmm.
and act sort of meaning a couple of different things. The act of creation, an act like it's like a second act or a third
Hmm.
act that we
Right.
have.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, a good one.
So for me, it's like, all right, well, what do I feel? Why am I feeling the discomfort? And so, one, I feel like the content could be better. I feel like it could be a little bit stronger. I don't think it needs a huge amount of editing, but I need to put the effort into doing it. And I
Mm.
need the, some happiness in doing that. And part of that happiness is going, oh, I've figured out the problem and now I have a solution
Yeah.
and I can move forward.
Yeah.
And so that's part of this is experiment is then finding out these small ways that I can get myself to where I feel really happy about it. So one of the books that I would model this on is by Michael Pollan called Food Rules,
Hmm.
Eater's Manual, and he teamed up with Myra Coleman. And it's his smaller creative acts around his advice around food and eating and Myra Coleman is a very well-known artist and illustrator. It's very short little bits and I highly recommend it. So I think having a better structure is one. I think tightening up the advice or guidance or whatever it is that I'm giving and
Hmm.
then packaging it in a way that has a little bit more artistry to it, a little bit more visual appeal.
Yeah.
Um, so that, and maybe not selling it through Kindle.
Or having a print version and a Kindle version. Because when I look on Amazon and it's still on there, even though it's not for sale on there anymore, that's the kind of book I would rather have a print version of.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and the nice thing about hearing you say that I'd rather have the print version of that makes me feel like, oh, well, I can do some things that are a little bit more interesting than you can do with just a Kindle version,
For
right?
sure. Yeah.
And so I can figure out there's so many different ways to get reasonably good art into something where it's not going to break the bank,
Hmm.
and I can have some fun because I like looking at pictures and I like
Yeah.
trying to get stuff out.
Yeah.
Then at the end have something that I'm like, oh, you know what? Maybe even cutting a bunch of stuff too. Right.
Yeah. Good.
And ending up with something that's a lot tighter, but looks a lot nicer, feels, when it comes in the box, feels really nice to hold
Yeah,
and is actually going to be of value to somebody else.
for sure. Absolutely. All right. So just to turn back to the terms, passive income, which my experience is never passive because I have a course out as well on Teachable. There's nothing passive about that. Or the term side hustles. My issue with that one is not so much that I don't like the language, it's that the word side is completely wrong because at some point if you're going to make anything, you have to have it right in front of you. Like if you take it literally, side hustles just seem like this thing you do when you're watching TV, but it's not really like that. You're putting 100% focus on this project for however long it takes. And I really like the idea of these smaller creative acts. And I think, that reminds me of Kath Mont's stream, our interview from a few weeks ago,
Mm.
where she started out with greeting cards, hand painted, and they're now mass produced, I think, but they're still something that she likes to do and that she keeps
Mm.
doing because she calls it feeding the dragon, you know, but it probably sustains part of the household for part of the year at least. I'm just speculating, but I think there is this thing about making something. There's like a feeling of intense satisfaction that if the things that you make take a while to make, like a book, then you miss out on that part. And so there's nothing wrong with getting the little dopamine hit of making something fun and putting it out in the world. I think it's almost
Mm.
necessary.
Yeah, no, I I think that's awesome. And then, along the way, no matter who we are as a creative, we have stuff that's kind of in the rearview mirror that for whatever reason it got used one way, but it could be repurposed.
Yeah.
So there's a way to kind of explore that. And again, this is like a mid-level creative thing where you have
Mhm.
a back catalog of
Mhm.
stuff that you can go through and sort of say, all right, I haven't looked at this in a while. Let's see what's here.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Inventory. So listen to your angst, figure out what your reservations are about if you are sort of reluctant to promote something that you created in order to sell it, or that you use some of your existing stuff in order to sell it. And then the other part of it is to take a fresh look at the stuff. So I have all these novellas that I never did anything with. Sometimes I don't want to work on a project that's done. I just have no interest in it anymore because it served its purpose, which was writing it in the first place. But other ones of those, I've thought about them from time to time and thought, hey, what would make that really fun? And so that's going to give me some food for thought.
Yeah, yeah. And then, the other thing that I don't want to say I obsess over it necessarily, but that authenticity piece, right?
Right.
So you go online, no matter where you are, Facebook, Instagram, Amazon, wherever you are, there's somebody trying to sell you something.
Hmm.
And there's a lot of stuff like there's this one product. I don't know if it's like called Colon Bloom or Colon Blow or something. And I was like, oh, you gotta be kidding me. And I looked at the ingredients and it's just like cilia seeds, right? But they're
Oh, no.
selling it for this insane amount of money.
Yeah.
I think it was like $100 for a tiny little amount.
Yeah.
And you can get the exact same thing. I'm not gonna buzz market anything, but you can get the exact same thing at the drugstore for like $5, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was just like, ah, you scumbags. And then I'll see this where there's these people say, oh, you've got to have a product. You've got to have a product. And they're like, here's my product. And then you go and you see it's like a cheesy PDF of a bunch of rehashed
That burns me up. I get so mad. I spent 20 US dollars once on a download that was absolute shite quality, and I couldn't believe they were selling it because they had actually had a good, they were legit. They just didn't, they just took the money.
Yeah. Yeah. They take the money and, what are you going to do? Return it?
No, you can't.
Yeah.
Once you buy a download, that's it.
Yeah. And you feel kind of like an idiot.
Yeah, I felt like a complete chump. I was like, I could, anyway, never mind.
Yeah. So that's what I mean is like that authenticity piece is like,
Yeah.
I don't want to feel like, oh, I've got to have some PDF up or I've got to have some like this or that or the other. And I think that's part of the angst is that I felt like the quality of what I had might be putting me into that inauthentic,
Mm,
you know, just trying to sell something, make crap into, look like something it isn't and try and make money off it. And that's the only care in the world, right?
yeah.
Is just keep pushing these products out. And so many of the people who talk about, oh, you've got to have a side hustle are the same people who are doing this stuff. So like that's part of why I kind of cringe at that word.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
That makes sense.
but I think part of this experiment is how to bring that authenticity to it, which is also going to make me feel really, really good about it.
Yeah, and without getting into the weeds so much that it becomes this major thing that your perfectionism or, just like you need to have a strong dose of the real world in your thinking and just say, well, sometimes really good is good enough. Like you could work on it forever and it's not your main thing that you're working on. So also have a bit of practicality around. I'm thinking of for me, not talking about you, but if I go online and I find out that it's going to cost me $50 to get a decent journal quality, $50 a journal, obviously I can't sell that. So I'm not going to go that high. I'm going to have to aim a little lower.
Mhm. Yeah. But at the same time, when I think about, so I'll go out and buy Moleskin journals, right?
Uh-huh.
And they're not cheap. I think they're like $30,
Yeah,
maybe
yeah,
$5.
they are.
But I have no problem with that because it's really nice. It's really good quality
Yeah.
thing.
It's fun to write in.
Yeah, so listening to the angst, understanding that when you get to this mid-level space, you have these smaller creative acts that you've either already done or you could do
Uh-huh.
that can bring a lot of satisfaction to you and possibly have value for other people.
Yeah.
Um, and I think this is going to be a good experiment that we can kind of come back to periodically.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Say,
Sure.
how are you doing? And one of the metrics, probably the metric, is how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I would say so because they are not going to pay your rent. They're just a little side money, which is maybe where the side hustle term comes from too. But yeah, I think it's really it's going to be fun because now I'm more interested in doing the 2025 version than I was half an hour ago.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. And maybe this is why we all need personal assistants.
Yeah, I know, right?
But we don't have them. We're our own personal assistant. And
Yeah.
so we got to figure out how to get past the angst. And, if you can't do that, then, probably not better not to put it out. But no, I think this is fun. I feel a lot more excitement and energy around uh, reinvestigating, exploring, and figuring out how to create something that I feel really good about. And I have a model now that I'm shooting for, so I feel like I have a little bit better understanding of what I'm trying to do. So,
Yeah, that's pretty brilliant actually to have I think of them as touchstone texts because
yeah.
in the publishing field, um, there's a lot of different ways you can conceptualize how to present an idea. And so, you look at something you really love, that gives you a lot of inspiration to how to model your own thing after something you love reading or, love just even looking through. Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm gonna do that too. I kind of have a journal in mind, but it's very high quality, but it's also the same page over and over and over again. It's
Right.
guided, but it's like pretty rigidly guided. So
Yeah. Yeah. And part of the fun for you, I guess, is coming up with different stuff, different pages, always something new for whoever's using it.
yeah, yeah, I really like that part. I have examples and stuff. I show what I mean by, what gives you pleasure. And then there's like a 3-column list of things I like doing. Taking the train is one of them.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Learning something new. Hearing a funny joke, getting some exercise, giving kindness, receiving kindness, having a weird dream, that kind of stuff.
Having a weird dream.
Yeah. I like having weird dreams. They're so fun.
Can you intentionally have a weird dream?
I don't know. I've never tried to do it intentionally, but I know when I've had one, that's for sure. I just think they can be so wacky.
All right. Well, that could be the next experiment, is intentionally having weird dreams.
Right?
That are fun. Yeah. How are we going to do that?
Oh,
All right.
man.
Cool.
I wonder if it's inherited, because my dad used to have these dreams where he'd start talking about them. There's casts of thousands, he's like a legionnaire in the Roman army leading an invasion or something. Like, there's no kidding.
Wow.
He had some crazy, crazy dreams.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, we'll
All right.
call it there, and we'll be back at some point to let everybody know how the next thing is going. Follow through. Again, follow through that is always the trick.
Well, that's it. Yeah, I think that's why it's easier to follow through with something you like a lot.
Yeah.
You don't have to love it, but if you really, really like it, it gets a lot easier. Maybe that's why we don't have any trouble promoting Gifted Underachievers, because I just have such a gas with it, and it seems like fun to share it. So that's probably might be something.
Yeah, no, I agree. And also throwing down a marker in front of other people, saying on a podcast, okay, this is something we're going to do.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
I mean, that's never stopped me from panning out on a project before. I have to do what I want to do.
Yeah, no, if public humiliation was going to prevent me from doing anything, that long ago, I'd be working in an insurance agency. So.
Yeah. Oh my God, yeah.
So then this is the end of this segment.
This is the end. We're done.
Okay, goodbye.
Goodbye. Thanks for listening to Gifted Underachievers, the podcast for mid-level creatives with delusional ambitions. Do you have any creative projects on the side, smaller acts that supplement your larger projects? How do you feel about promoting them? Or do you promote them? Are they just little things you do for yourself? We'd love to know, so put a note in the comments or send us an email to giftedunderachievers@substack.com.